I just finished a sales audit for a $9 million IT business that has a goal of scaling to $29 million by the year 2029. Three of the mistakes that they were making are three mistakes that I actually see in these sales audits over and over and over again. So I'm going to share what those are so that you can stop making them. Let's go. Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former CEO turned nomad entrepreneur. I was the managing director of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and oversaw national, small, and mid-sized business and all those sales and marketing channels. I was also CEO and ran turnarounds for a handful of investor groups. And for the past 5 years, I have coached and consulted hundreds of B2B businesses like MSPs and IT companies. And whenever we start working with a new company, we do a sales audit. It's a process that I built to evaluate what is going on with the entire growth engine of this company to help identify what are the bottlenecks that are keeping them from getting to the next level, right? And so we go in, we run this whole process, we look at strategy, we look at lead generation, we look at the sales process, the sales team, and we build a full roadmap that says, this is what we would do to get from here to here. We see a lot of these bottlenecks and we see inside a lot of these different systems on the marketing and the sales side. And there are three mistakes that I have seen come up so consistently that I wanted to record this video and say, please don't do this. And the first is a complete absence of sales leadership within the company. Now, here's how I usually see this play out. The founder gets the business started, right? And at the beginning, the founder is doing everything. They're spinning 27 plates. They're doing prospecting. They're doing sales. They're doing some marketing. They're doing all the delivery. As the business starts going, they have to start handing off these things. And building a sales organization is one obvious way to start scaling your company. So they hire a BDR or an SDR or a full cycle salesperson or a closer, whatever it is. And they make that hire under the belief that that removes them from the sales process, but it doesn't. It actually just means they got promoted to sales manager. Now, believe it or not, good sales management pays for itself because the functions of sales management are there to get maximum performance out of the salesperson. And if those essential functions are being done, they're being done well and they're being done consistently, the salesperson will drive more revenue, which is a win for the salesperson and a win for the founder. The challenge is a lot of founders make that initial hire and then just abdicate all the responsibilities that come with sales management. And that's a huge missed opportunity because you take the hit on both sides because you've added somebody to the team. So you've got some expenses that are rolling and that person isn't driving the growth that you want. So you actually squeeze your margin and you've got more headaches, right? You've got sales that aren't performing properly or a process is not being followed properly and you're kind of getting pulled in. At the end of the day, if you've made a sales hire, you've got to do the sales management functions that go along with getting maximum performance. That may mean one-on-ones, sales meetings, pipeline reviews, call coaching. Where in the f*** am I going to get time to do that? Like I hired somebody because I don't have time. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter how much time you think you have. Those functions need to get done. And if they are not done, you will not get maximum performance out of a salesperson, which is costing you money and it's costing them money. So you're not just letting yourself and your business down. You're actually letting them down. So the answer to this is understanding what are the essential sales management functions that need to be filled in my business? And it's going to be different if you've got a BDR than if you have a full cycle salesperson, than if you have somebody that's doing just closing consults. Like that's going to be slightly different, but there's always going to be some need for sales meetings where you're talking about the numbers, the goals, the standards, the expectation, whether you're ahead of plan, behind plan, one-on-ones to connect with your salesperson as a person, like beyond just the, like all the sales metrics and everything else, but checking in with them to see how they're doing, how they're developing, what their goals are, how you can better support them. Call coaching and sales coaching in the organization. If you're not listening to calls at every level in the sales process, then you are not only missing the opportunity to coach, but you're also missing a lot of research and development because there's so much to learn on the calls. And if you're not listening to those calls, you're just getting further and further away from your customer. So you've got to do that. And then if there's any kind of pipeline that they're working, a pipeline review. Like those are the essential things that need to get done. And if they are, and they're being done well, you will make more money. The second mistake is not having any real insight into what is really driving sales. I've looked at a lot of companies that are doing a lot of work, right? Like they're doing a lot of things. They've got a podcast, they've got a YouTube channel, they're doing social media stuff on LinkedIn, they're doing, some SEO, they're doing some paid ads, they're doing like some cold email. There's a ton of activity that's happening, but there's no real insight into which one of these things is really driving sales, which is really driving results. And because of that, it results in a busier business because without the insight of what's working and what's not, you feel this need to keep everything going. If I stop doing this, I don't know, like that might be the thing that's driving all the results. So you start these initiatives and you start these campaigns and you start these different tactics, and you never really measure the impact on sales and how that's relating to pipeline and throughput and conversion for your business. So you become afraid of stopping any of the tactics because you don't want any of them to stop. And I can tell you on this last sales audit that I did, more than half of the marketing budget was being invested into something that produced no tangible results in sales and revenue all year. But even worse, because of the lack of insight into what was working or what wasn't, not only were they doing a bunch of stuff that didn't work, they weren't doubling and tripling down on the things that did work. So when we go in there and identify, hey, these things aren't working, but those two things are, we can look at what do we need to do to adjust these things, and how do we do a whole lot more of this? And the answer to this is you need actionable data on the initiatives that you have. In other words, you want data and information that actually changes behaviors. You don't want just a bunch of numbers. Okay. So you've got to look at that and say, why are we doing this? What does success actually look like? How are we going to measure that? And when are we going to measure that? If you don't have those things when you start an initiative, or just go back and audit the initiatives you're underway, like, why are we doing this? What does success look like? How are we measuring it? When are we measuring it? What's the interval that we're going to determine, hey, this is a go or no go? If you don't have those things, you're flying blind, and there's massive inefficiency and waste in that. And the third mistake that I see all the time is just not knowing the fundamentals of the business. Most companies that I talk to, they want to scale, right? Like we want to scale our sales. We want to double or triple the size of the company. Cool. But what if the cost of acquisition that you have right now is 3 times what it should be? What if the lifetime value of your current client is only half of the industry average? Do you want to scale poor economics? I mean, there are times where we do this analysis and we find out you've got a whole category of clients that you are actively selling that don't make you money. Now, maybe this category is, but maybe this one is supplementing this one. Like, those are things that you really want to know. You want to know the fundamentals of your company, the economic health of the company before you scale. Otherwise, you're going to scale unprofitability. You're going to scale inefficiency. You're going to scale the parts of the business that you don't really want to, and you're going to do it without even knowing it. Whether you're at 7 figures or 8 figures, you need to know some basic metrics. You need to know your revenue, right? I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of people can't tell you their ARR, their annual recurring revenue. They can't tell you what their annual revenue was last year. There's different types of revenue. Like if you've got project revenue and you've got recurring revenue and you've got, revenue from your MSP services and you've got revenue from other services, you want to understand where those are. Number 2 is gross margin. And that is the money that's left over after your direct cost in delivering your service. And this tells you how efficiently you're delivering your service. Like, this is critical to profitability. And before you scale something, like, you want to make sure you're delivering things efficiently. The third is net margin. And that's what's left over after all the other expenses in the business that aren't directly related to delivering the service. And again, it's an efficiency metric. It tells you, are we making money? Definitely need to know that before you try to scale anything up. Fourth is LTV, or lifetime value of a client. And this is the total revenue or the total profit that a client is expected to deliver you over the lifetime of their time with you. So you can oftentimes take the average recurring revenue each month times the average number of months that they're with you, and then look at the margin on that. But at the end of the day, you want to know, what is the total value of each new client that I bring in? Which then goes to the fifth thing, which is the cost of acquisition, or your CAC, CAC. And this is the average amount that it costs you, including all your sales and marketing budget, to get a new client. You can start to look at the ratios and really understand your business in a different way, and also determine, are we even ready to scale? Are there things that we need to improve in terms of maybe profit margin or gross margin or lifetime value or the cost of acquisition? Maybe we need a better profit model, right? Like maybe we're spending too much to deliver the stuff. You want that to be data driven. You don't want your gut making these decisions at this point. The data is there. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen companies get too aggressive in wanting to grow before they fix some of the massive leaks that they have. And that's what results in cash flow problems, profitability problems, and things later on as they go. Right? So those are the big 3 that I see very, very consistently: an absence of sales leadership, not having any real insight into what is working to grow the business, and not understanding the fundamentals or the real economics of the business as they've grown. Now, if you're not making any of these mistakes, phenomenal job. Hopefully this has been a good reminder for you. If you are, don't fear. That's why I'm making the video. I've seen it so many times. That means you're not alone. It just means that these are 3 things that really need to be addressed if you want to get to the next level in your business. Hopefully this has been helpful to you in looking at how you're going to grow your business. If it has, subscribe to the channel. for more business and sales tips. And feel free to check out the link below where you can join my list and get access to some free templates and resources. Check it out.